Hey everyone, and welcome to another Pathfinder adventure card game scenario. This is scenario 3.6 with the character Damiel. We're over at the Skypharaoh's throne, where at this location, the difficulty of your checks against Banes that have the mummy trait is increased by 4. And after you are dealt damage that is not reduced, bury one random card from your discard pile. Alright, well Damiel's hand is all set. We will advance the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Rock, and the first card we get is Vented Plate Mail. So it's a Constitution Fortitude 9 check to acquire. It's Heavy Armor Elite. Damiel only has a Constitution Fortitude of D8, so this will be an auto fail. Looking at his hand, he doesn't want to waste a blessing on this, especially since it's only a basic boon. He won't be able to trade it to a trader, so we will automatically fail that check to acquire. Damiel's hand is fine. Advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of the Elements. Exploring, we get a Thunder Lizard. Alright, it's a Dragon Electricity. Check to defeat Combat 13. The Thunder Lizard is immune to the Electricity trait. Before you act, the Thunder Lizard deals 1d4 electricity damage to each character at the location. Alright, I'll have to roll a d4. And rolling the d4, making sure it doesn't get stuck in the dice tower. Alright, so I rolled a 1. I do have this Ubashti ally, so I can recharge the Ubashti ally, so I don't have to take any damage whatsoever. And now what I will do is I will use an Acid Flask on this Bane. It's going to be my Damiel's Disable skill, plus 2d6, adding plus 4 to this roll. Feeling pretty confident here, and we rolled wow. So we rolled 18 and 4 is 22, more than enough to defeat that Bane. All right, let's go ahead and reset Damiel's hand. We will now advance the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Thoth. And exploring, we get the Rook. It's an animal acid. Well, since it has the acid trait, Damiel can reveal a card that has the alchemical trait, and if he does so, he can add 2d6 to this roll. He has a lot of cards in his hand that have the alchemical trait, and it says here all damage dealt by the Rook is acid damage. If the check to defeat does not have the attack or range trait, the difficulty is increased by 4. Fortunately, Damiel has a chakram, which is a ranged item, a ranged weapon, so he can use a d10 plus a d8. Alright, so on all these checks, on the 2 combat checks, he can roll 4 dice and add 2. So he's feeling pretty fortunate here. So, yep, easily making that first check. And the second check, we need a 13. Well, for this one, we rolled 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a 4. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 2. Okay, that was a little closer, but we did manage to eke out a success here. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus the 2. Alright, so the Rook has been banished. Alright, looking at Damiel's hand, the hand is fine. Advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of the Ancients. Exploring, okay, we get the villain of this scenario. Cinceret the Tribe Eater, Undead Mummy. So since it's a mummy, you have to add plus 4 to the check to defeat. So I have to do a combat 29. So it's immune to the mental and poison traits. If the check to defeat has a cold trait, add 1d8. Well, Damiel actually has 2 things in his hand that have a cold trait. He has the Blessing of Thoth and an Embalming Fluid. They both have the cold trait. So he is in luck. We will be able to go ahead and add a d8 to this check. What we're going to do is we are going to use the Embalming Fluid. So it says since we use the Embalming Fluid, and if the Bane has the Undead trait, ignore its immunities, which is pretty awesome. We're going to be able to add plus 2 to the check since we're doing the Embalming Fluid. And then what we're going to do is we will use a Fire Lance. We're going to discard the Fire Lance, and that means we can roll 4d8. So assembling my dice here. 1, 2, 3. Finding the 4th one. We are going to be using the Blessing of Thoth, which is going to give us another d8. So let me go ahead and find another D8. There's one right here. We want to make sure we defeat this. Since we use a fire lance, we can use another weapon, the chakram. It has a special power that on your combat check, if you played another weapon, you can discard this card to add 1d4. So we will do that. We'll add another d4. And then what we can do is we can use Damiel's power, which says that you may recharge a card that has the alchemical trait to add 1d4 and the acid or poison trait. So we'll go ahead and recharge a noxious bomb in our hand. We're not using the item, we're using a power, so we are able to do that. Okay, we are rolling all of that. We only have a +2 modifier to this check, thanks to the embalming fluid. So, and we need to roll a 29. All right. Let's see what we get. Adding +2, so we have a 4, 7. We have an 8. So 15 and 5. 15 and 5 is 21, 22, and another 10 is 32, and 1 is 33, plus 2, so we have 35 total. So that's higher than 29, so we were successful. We do have to roll for the embalming fluid. We have to make a disable 7 check or bury the top card of our deck. So let's go ahead and roll for that disable check right now. D10 plus 4. So we rolled a 2. So we have to bury the top card of our deck. And then the villain is banished. But it says here, after you act, bury 2 cards. So Damiel does have 2 cards left in his deck. He has to bury them. And now he has to reset his hand. And since it's fairly early on in the adventure, he is able to reset his hand and survive that scenario. Alright, pretty awesome. Skypharaoh's throne is defeated. The location is closed. Let's go ahead and do a deck check. So that was the end of level 3. Damiel was victorious. Let's go ahead and do a deck check, see what he's got. He didn't pick up any new loot that scenario, so that's pretty much the only drawback to that scenario. Otherwise, a fairly successful adventure. So here's a look at Damiel's deck, all the different cards he has. He has quite a few great cards. If you've been following this campaign, you would see his progress. So he's got all these, the Blessed of Thoth definitely helped out. Fire Lance is always pretty amazing. Noxious Bomb, there's a great ally. Blessed of Widget. Okay, so that's the state of Damiel's deck right there. Looking at the reward for the scenario, it's a roll card. So Damiel has the choice of a roll card now, since this is the end of level 3. Let's go ahead and zoom in there. So he can either become a toxicologist, or he can choose the mad scientist. And after he chooses his roll card, he can go ahead and he can determine, he can gain a power feat. So that is pretty awesome. So I was looking ahead at these guys, and I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the mad scientist route, because I like this one. You may recharge a card that has the alchemical trait to add 1d4 or 2d4. So I was looking at that, and I wanted to give Damiel a little more offensive oomph. So he's going to be a mad scientist, and he's going to be gaining plus 2d4 when he recharges a card that has the alchemical trait. So pretty excited about that. I'll have to go ahead and add these power feats onto that card. But as it is, Damiel did not acquire any new loot, so he's not going to a trader at the end of this scenario. Kind of bummed out about that. Would have been nice if he got a few extra things. But as it is, we are more than halfway done with the campaign. Damiel's doing pretty good. He's got a great deck. And let's just see how the remainder of the campaign turns out. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'll have the first adventure of level 4 up shortly. Alright, thank you.